Welcome back, casual gardeners. Carrots are a really fun thing to grow in a garden. The problem is there are a lot of issues we can run into. They're hard to germinate. They're hard to get the spacing right. There are lots of little tricks. They kind of work. So I'm gonna make this carrot video for all of you guys, and by the time we're done with it, you will know how to maybe be a little bit more successful growing carrots in your garden. Oh shoot. It's a hawk being mobbed by crows. I know you've all heard the trick about mixing your carrot seeds with sand so that you can get the spacing a little bit better and you don't have to thin as much. Let me know in the comments if you've had any luck with that. I haven't. My trick is this wad of toilet tissue. So make sure you keep watching if you want to know how I use this wad of toilet tissue to get the spacing on my seeds just right. Or let me know in the comments what your guess is. The big thing you're going to need to have success with your carrots is loose, freely draining soil. And that is actually something I do not have here in my Zone 6 garden in Cache Valley, Utah. We have heavy clay soil. It was necessary for me to do a little bit of work before I did the work of planting carrots. Job number one was preparing my bed. I can't just put the seeds down and expect them to grow. My soil is dense and full of clay. So first I had to go in and dig up that whole bed, and I went a foot down. So I'm going to get at least foot-long carrots, hopefully. If your carrot hits any obstructions like sticks or rocks or hard spots, it'll fork, and then you'll have an ugly carrot. You can still eat an ugly carrot, but we still don't want them. I also went back over and added a small layer of mix of cow manure and compost blend from the big box store, and I mixed that carefully in with the rest of the soil. You don't want to be planting straight into that stuff. It's too hot. It'll stunt your seedlings. Then I gave it a good hose down to cut. I had a lot of dirt clods from when I first excavated that spot because it was wet and it got bad. So I gave it a good long drink so that I can give those time to absorb that water and maybe loosen up a little bit. And now we're ready to go back over there and actually put some seeds in the soil. Right up against the greenhouse like this isn't a bad angle for planting so much, but it's actually a terrible angle for making videos. I'm going to define my rows first. And I don't want my grooves to be very deep because the planting depth for carrots is 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to put them about 6 to 8 inches apart. Now, before we can have anything to put in these little furrows I've just made, it's time to do some arts and crafts. So I am making DIY seed tape. You want to space your carrots between 1 and 3 inches apart. So I'm just putting little dots 2 inches apart down my strip of toilet tissue. Okay, so I've got my toilet tissue prepped. My bed is about 3 feet wide, so this is a 3-foot long strip. I've cut it about in thirds. I've mixed up this solution of flour and water into a paste. We are doing paper mache. So I'm going to put a drop of my paste on my spot, and then I'm going to use tweezers because I have no fine motor skills. I'm going to drop seeds onto my spot and move on to the next one. And you want to use just enough paste to stick your seeds to your seed tape. And this is something you can do actually a month or 2 in advance and just let it dry out, and you're ready to go when it's planting time. Okay, now that I've got all of my seeds on, I'm going to just fold the toilet tissue in half, and the paste will lock it together and hold the seeds in place. Now, this seed tape can be allowed to dry out, and you can just store it until you need it. I'm going to be using it later today in this very video. All right, now you know, it's just homemade seed tape. And I'm going to have perfect 2-inch spacing, which will reduce the amount of thinning I have to do later. If you end up with some extra length, you can just rip it off the end, because it's very easy to tear. Whoops, I just did it on accident. We want to just barely cover this. And toilet tissue is ideal for this because it does just kind of disappear when it gets wet. So I love this because it doesn't take as long and I still get really good spacing. Now, as you do with, oh, that's the wrong setting. As you do with any seeds you plant, you want to water it in. But the problem with carrots is that it can take up to 2 weeks to get germination. And I'm planting these carrots in the middle of June. It's not the coolest month of the year. The soil's going to be drying out a lot, and I have to keep these consistently wet until they start growing. So what do? My clay soil actually does help a little. It's going to do a better job retaining the water. So my solution to that problem is old wooden planks. I'm just going to lay them on top and just kind of push them in so they can form a little bit to where they are. There we go. This will shade the soil underneath it and keep it from drying out. And I can just lift it up every day and water underneath it. And I'm just going to keep these on until I see germination. Now, if your garden doesn't have the benefit of being just full of abandoned building supplies, it probably looks a lot nicer. You can use maybe a sheet of cardboard instead. Just make sure you're keeping track of where your rows are. I need 6 of these for 6 rows because I've got 6 to 8 inch spacing and these are only 2x planks. So, but they do help me keep track of where everybody is. Usually I really like to get my carrots in, if I'm growing carrots, in the early spring. So in this zone, like early April, because that is a cooler, wetter time of the year, and it's a lot easier to keep your seeds consistently wet until you get germination. Now that it is almost officially summer, this is the hardest time to start carrots. But tricks like this can help a lot. This is a good time to start carrots in other ways. They have a 70 to 90 day time to harvest. Some cultivars can take up to 100 days till you get a harvest. Starting them right now means I'm going to get my carrots in September or October when things are starting to cool off again. And that means sweeter, tastier carrots. Now let's talk about some problems that we can run into with our carrots and how to address those as well. Do you have thin, stringy carrots? Probably you didn't give them enough room. Make sure they have a minimum of 1 inch of space around the carrot to, develop. Just like us, they don't want to be overcrowded. Now, alternatively, what if you have thick, stubby little guys? You might have hard pan soil beneath the surface. So to deal with the hard pan soil, you're going to want to get in there with a broad fork, or you're going to want to till your soil. Just as you saw me doing by double digging a foot deep with my shovel. What if your carrots are bitter? Is it the whole carrot or just the top? If the whole carrot is bitter, then you probably waited a little too long to harvest your carrot. And that's an easy thing to do. Mark on your calendar about when you expect your carrots to start ripening. And around that time, you're going to want to start going out and picking a test carrot just to see how they're doing. You can usually allow them to stay in the ground a few weeks beyond when you need to harvest them, but too far beyond that, they're going to start getting woody as they prepare to move into the next stage of their life, which is preparing for next year when they're supposed to put up their flower and reproduce. If just the top of your carrot is bitter, and especially if it's also green, your carrot top may have been exposed to too much sun. You can just chop the bitter top off and enjoy the rest of your carrot. It's still edible. Alternatively, you can just prevent that by making sure when your carrots are growing that you hill up your soil over the top of your carrots. It's not the end of the world, but if you want perfect carrots, it'll bug you. You may have carrots that bolt. Bolting is just what farmers use to describe when a plant goes to seed sooner than expected. If there are broad deviations in the weather, like maybe you have a cold snap followed by a heat wave, your carrot might decide it's already been around into its second year and just go, whoop, time to flower. When your carrot bolts, it's not going to be a good carrot anymore. Enjoy your Queen Anne's lace and your free carrot seeds. And just know that sometimes the weather doesn't cooperate with our plans. I think I've already addressed forking in carrots. Forking can be caused by running into an obstacle as it grows down into the soil. Maybe it hits a stick or a root or a rock. Maybe a pest under the soil takes a bite out of the carrot. You can also get forked carrots if you over-fertilize with nitrogen. If you need to add nitrogen, add it in a slow dissolving sort of option with lots of organic matter incorporated into it, like I did today with the cow manure and compost combination. That's going to slowly break down into the soil and fertilize my carrots so they don't fork too much. Alternatively, you can use something like blood meal. I'm sure there must be some vegan options if you're vegan. Probably just straight compost from all vegetable sources, because plant compost can still be a decent source of nitrogen if your carrots need nitrogen. It's not going to be a big need most of the time. Are your leaves turning yellow? This can be caused by a couple of things. Surprisingly, not usually a nitrogen shortage. Cause number one, you're over or underwatering your carrots. Cause number two could be root knot nematodes. Some people might tell you to interplant your carrots with marigolds because marigolds will kill nematodes. And that's true, but it's also an overblown claim. Marigolds kill nematodes that attack the marigold. The nematodes can move right past that marigold and infest your carrot root and kill it, even if there's a marigold growing right next to it. They don't have psychic protection auras that protect everyone around your marigold. They just protect themselves. Make sure you're not over or under watering. Mulch is your friend. If it is nematodes, rotate to a new location. The nematodes are not very mobile. That should get them. Now, the last problem we're going to talk about is cracked roots. That's just a sign of inconsistent watering. If they take up too much water all at once, the tissue of the carrot may expand too fast and crack. Again, mulch is your friend, and make sure you have freely draining soil. So if I skipped a tip that you think is important, of course, let me know in the comments. That won't just help me, it'll help everyone else that's watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm a needy YouTuber, and you can scratch that need for me. Thank you so much for joining me here in my garden today. Hope you have a wonderful time in your own.